My name is Sam McManus. I'm the founder and managing director of YellowWood Adventures. We've been running trips in Mongolia for about 6 years, minus a couple of years for the pandemic. And I've given this presentation quite a few times, mainly live at the beginning of this year at some of the trade shows. We did the UK London destination show. We did the adventure travel show in New York as well. And it really is that I founded the company in 2016 in Ethiopia, but then the second destination we moved to was Kyrgyzstan, and then the third was Mongolia. And I've been there only 3 times myself. I'm going back this year. Again, I was there in September last year, and it's just a country that has very much captured my imagination, and all of our clients who go there are fall in love with it as well. So you can see from the map, it's located in Central Asia. I'd really say this really was one of the last great frontiers of the world. You have geographically, it's sort of banded into 3 sort of sections. You have to the north and west, high mountains. In the middle, you have grassy plains, plain land, and then to the south, you have the Gobi Desert. So you have a lot of different types of geography. What's amazing, though, is for a country the size of a good chunk of Western Europe, it has a population of about 4 million people, if that. And most of those are concentrated in Ulaanbaatar, the capital. So when you get out into the countryside, it really is, you know, not well populated, and that obviously adds to the charm of the country. Nothing, it would be impossible to talk about Mongolia without mentioning this gentleman. So Genghis Khan, the great king, the great warlord of the 12th century, he unified the Mongols as a race, really. Before that, they were sort of, you know, nomadic people and warring tribes. He defeated his enemies, brought them together, and from that consolidation, exploded out into what was in the 12th century, grew to the map here to be the Mongol Empire. Now, they were extremely good at waging war and destruction. They were natural horsemen. They were fantastic archers. They had a very skillful tactic of running towards the enemy on their horses, shooting them with arrows, and then feigning retreat. They would turn around their horses and retreat from the enemy, who would charge them, but the Mongols could turn in the saddle whilst galloping away and still shoot their enemies from the saddle in retreat. And they would just waylay destruction to everything in their path. They would take very cunning battle tactics, like when they came to a city at night, every man would build 5 fires per man. So what was a relatively small army looked enormous and would strike fear into the hearts of the people. And then so they were very good, obviously, as I said, destruction and creating the empire. But what no one really saw coming from the Mongols was their gift for then administration and communication. So the Mongol Empire, although it created a huge amount of destruction and they killed thousands of, if not more, people, what then it created was actually a structure from this region that united the East with the West, really for the really first time in history, to the point where travelers could start safely carrying their wares to and back and forth. And that's what's known as the Silk Road, because one of the main commodities was carrying silk from Peking, as you can see here, all the way to Europe. And then obviously Marco Polo was from Italy and went and saw this empire in full flow. And so when you travel to Mongolia, you know, all the children are called Genghis Khan. There's Genghis Khan beer, however you like to pronounce it. And so it's, you know, this is, even though this was, you know, 1,000 years ago, this is still very much at the forefront of every Mongolian's cultural heritage. Tibetan Buddhism is also really plays a strong part in the country. You can see the monastery here of Erden Zoo in Karakorum, which was a huge cosmopolitan metropolis of Genghis Khan's tented camp. There's nothing of that remains now 1,000 years on, except for this one monastery. And then when you go to Ulaanbaatar, the capital, we come to visit this beautiful monastery here. These are all of our photos, either taken, well, not by myself, I'm a terrible photographer, but they're all taken by either YellowWood clients, or we've taken a photographer on a couple of trips that we've done. So this monastery survives in Ulaanbaatar. Nearly most of them in the country were actually destroyed by the Soviets. Ulaanbaatar itself means red warrior in the Mongolian language. It was a communist country. It didn't really stick out in the countryside because people were just pastoralists and didn't really understand it anyway. But the Soviets really did destroy nearly all of they were trying to wipe clean religion from the country. So only really a handful of them survive today. So coming back to that word, pastoralists, what does it really mean, and why are the Mongolians a nomadic people? It's not some cultural quirk. It's because of the harshness of the environment in which they live. I already mentioned they have desert, they have steppe grassland that you can see here. Not very much grows because they have very hot winters and freezing cold, very hot summers and freezing cold winters with lots of winds. You can't really grow crops in these conditions. So they live from their livestock. They rely on the meat and the milk of their goats, yaks that you can see here, the horses themselves, and sheep. And so the reason that they have these felt gers that they create is because they always had to move throughout the year to make sure that there was fresh pastures for their flocks, because if their flocks died, they would die. Here you can see a Bankar Mongolian dog, cross between a sheepdog and a guard dog. You really don't want to mess with them. They're huge, although very friendly. That being said, the Mongolian word greeting, which I've now forgotten, translates directly to hold the dogs, because you don't want to approach a ger and have one of these come and charge you, because they are absolutely enormous. And so even now, you know, as soon as you get outside of the city, this nomadic way of life continues. People live with their flocks. Often they will have vehicles to move to the winter grounds, to the summer grounds, to the spring, to the autumn grounds. But the traditional way of life really does remain. This is obviously inside the ger. They're very brightly painted in many of the traditional colors of Tibetan Buddhism, which have survived. Milk here is a staple, and meat as well. They have lots of dairy products, cheese, cream, very delicious food. They're very family-oriented people. I love this guy. He's actually a horse trainer and founder of the Antisocial Social Club, but he's a teddy bear underneath. This is Baska, one of our local guides. We run many trips there, and you know, have very strong partnerships with our local guides. She's absolutely fantastic. She's wearing her cultural deal that you can see here. I'll mention a little bit more about that later. And they're just a beautiful people. This lady's called Mona, and we've worked with her as well. So the deal is the traditional Mongolian dress. Men and women would wear this alike. It's extremely practical. It's very, very warm. This is more of a ceremonial one, but you get very heavy deals. It's great for horse riding because it's very low and it covers your legs. Someone like me, and when I did my first trip to Mongolia, you'll see I just wore a jacket and jeans, and your legs get cold when you're riding in the steppe in cold winter. The wind really rips into you, whereas these deals will keep you warm in all weathers. Kids are born into the saddle. This is in the Naiman Nur region. You can see some gers in the background there over the lake. Naiman Nur means 7 lakes, and it's where we do our nomad horse riding adventure. That's actually one I'm joining again this year. You can see here, so although some people do have vehicles, if they don't, they will typically use yaks to transport the gers when they're moving. If they're living further south in the Gobi Desert, they'll use Bactrian camels, which are the local 2-humped camel. So the nomads horse riding adventure we do here, you can see from Ulaanbaatar, the route that we take into Karakoram, as I mentioned, and then we spend 6 days in the saddle, which is absolutely fantastic. This is when I first did the trip by myself. I just flew to Mongolia, wanted to have a look around. This was my guide, Batai. He only spoke 3 words of English because it was cheaper, and I kind of wanted a local guide. I don't know what I was thinking at the time. But I even brought my violin, which I made him carry there. That's the Bactrian camel there. That was me. I went a bit late. It was in September time, so that snow had started to fall in the desert. And you can see I was just having an absolute blast. Trying to race these guys, they were taking more time to pose for the photo. They're incredible horsemen. I never had a chance of even catching them. So this is later with Basker taking a group of clients. I was just along for the ride on this one. The Mongolian horses, they're short, as you can see, but they're extremely hardy. They can carry great weights. They're fast. They're beautiful to ride. We even take non-riders on this trip because we have local horsemen, such as these gentlemen here, looking after the horses. They can lead rein someone if they're not well experienced. And it's just, you know, this Naiman Nur Seven Lake region is absolutely fantastic region to travel through. So they have wild horses. Well, they're not Mongolian horses, you know, they don't keep them in pens. They've got too many of them. So they'll leave them out to just pasture in the valleys. And when they want to ride them, they'll go out and they'll capture them, throw a saddle on them, and then take them. But it's a beauty. We do trips in Kyrgyzstan as well, more hiking trips. But to be able to walk through valleys and just see herds of natural horses in their element, they're just so happy. And we will stop for lunch. Yeah, you can see here the traditional deals there. They look really great. So these are just more pictures of the horse riding through that region. There's another Bankar dog. Riding horses is always fun. When you've got a Bankar dog trotting along in front of you, somehow makes it even more enjoyable. This is one of the local families we stay with. They are such a nice people. Does anyone have a question, by the way? Just one quick anecdote of this family when I was staying with them. So that first time I did the recce trip out there, there's no electricity here, so I had quite a nifty bit of kit, which is a solar charger that I probably bought for about $60 or $70. And you open it and you can charge your phone. And upon returning to London, I actually thought I had lost it, or it'd been stolen or whatever. And I didn't really give it a second thought. And I think it was the following year or 6 months, I can't remember, when we got the first group together and I came back out with the group alongside the Mongolian tour leader. And I came back to this family in the Naiman Nur region, and this is run by this matriarch here. And we had dinner with them, and we were talking, and most of them don't speak English, and there were sort of some murmurings, and I could sort of tell something was going on. And they presented me with the solar charger, which I'd left by mistake in one of the gers the previous time I was there. And that was their only source of electricity. They'd been using it to charge their phones for the entire time, but they still felt compelled to give it back to me. Of course, I refused and actually brought a few solar chargers out on subsequent trips. But I like that story because it just gives an idea of the genuine nature of these people. Just a quick message from one in the chat there from Patricia: level of fitness, horse riding skills, sleeping in tents or yurts. So for that particular trip, the horse riding adventure, I mean, you need to be sitting in the saddle comfortably for about 4 to 5 hours a day. They're comfortable saddles. They're not like British saddles. It's somewhere between a British and an American Western riding. They're easy riding saddles. You just sit there. You can, as I said, be led reins if you want, or control the horse yourself. And then, you know, once you get to a Ger camp, you can go off gallop and have a bit of fun if you like. But yeah, we'll take beginners, because honestly, the horses are adapt to it. And yeah, for this trip, you fly into Ulaanbaatar, you stay in a nice hotel in the city, but once we're out, we're just staying in Gers. And it's normally sort of 4 to sort of 5 people per Ger on a sharing basis. This was a family we did a bespoke trip with, and I love that photo actually. These are just some other photos from other trips we've run there. So I was back in Mongolia last year in September for the Eagle Festival. So this is in the far west of the country, flying to Ulaanbaatar and take a national flight to Ulgi. And it's actually the Kazakh-Mongol tradition. So Kazakhstan and Mongolia are actually separated by a slim slice of border where China and Russia meet. But the Kazakh and the Mongol historically were both nomadic races, and there's a lot of crossover there. So, but the Kazakh people who settled in Western Mongolia are the eagle hunters. Before we go and see one of the smaller local festivals, we go up here to the Altai National Park. You can ride. Most of the time we'll drive up there because it's a bit late in the year, because the Eagle Festival's in September. So if there's snow, it's not actually brilliant for horses. So we'll tend to drive up here. But the views are absolutely stunning in the national park. And then we come down to the Eagle Festival itself. So eagle hunting, you know, it's really cultural. You know, it's quite impractical. You know, to train up an eagle to hunt, you have to climb up to the mountains to find a chick in the nest in the mountains, bring it back down to your ger, raise it up for over 2 or 3 years to be tame enough, and then teach it to fly. And even then, sometimes they'll just fly off. And also, you know, all they can really catch is small rodents, muskrats. So, you know, you're not going to be an eagle hunter and survive on that. It's really just part of their cultural heritage, but something they're deeply, deeply proud of. These were photos that we took from last September. So we had 30 eagle hunters, and the pride and joy they take in this. So there's lots they do eagle hunting, but then they have sort of lots of games where women get involved as well. This is called Kiss the Girl. This is popular in Central Asia as well. Women will ride their horse, and then men have to come and try and kiss them on the cheek. And then this was actually a young boy of about 15. He won this particular tournament. And the way that sort of eagle hunting, they don't hunt rodents in front of you. That's sort of impossible. But they do. For example, eagle hunters will go up onto the mountains that you can see in the background there, and with the eagle of the eagle hunter, and he has to call it. And amidst 100 people watching, you can see from his particular whistle the eagle will fly down and land onto his arm. This is not a Mongolian. This is one of our clients called Helmer, he's a fantastic photographer. He took a lot of these photos here, and obviously had a chance to hold the eagles himself. This gentleman's a fantastic horse rider. He's just after taking part in this Eagle Festival, he actually then went to the nomadic games, which were held in Turkey last year. I'd taken a group of 15 clients to them when they were held in Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, you can see him there on his horse. He's a fantastic horseman. So, yeah, a few pictures here of Kiss the Girls. And yet, there was a famous film that came out called The Eagle Huntress, which some of you may be familiar with. And she really brought worldwide sort of interest to this very niche, in a tiny corner of Western Mongolia. The world really didn't know about it. And so she brought a lot of fame to those people, and she's held in high regard. I didn't meet her when I was there in September, but she's from that region, and of course everyone knows who she is. So here, this isn't actually a trip. We almost got a trip off the ground in 2020, but obviously didn't because of the pandemic. In the very north of Mongolia, the San people live, and they're the reindeer people. They actually are a strange, small tribe who live in not even gers, they live in teepees. and ride reindeer. These are photos. I didn't take these ourselves, that our local partners that we work with in Mongolia shared with me. I mean, it's absolutely unique and fantastic, and something I would love to do in the future. The Nadam festival here takes place in July. We also run trips to this. So this originates from the 12th century, from the time of Genghis Khan. Nadam roughly translates to the 3 games of men. It was a very warlike time, and so Genghis Khan wanted to, instill bravery and warlike skills in his countrymen and in his armies. So every year they would have a festival that comprised of the 3 games, which are wrestling, archery, and horse riding, crucial to any good soldier of the time. And this has, remained for 1,000 years. Here you can see a couple of Mongolian wrestlers here. I don't know who came up with this outfit, but that's what they were. And then archery as well. Women now take part also, which is great. And there's a lot of, cultural singing and dancing. What's really interesting though, for the horse racing, only kids do it, because to the Mongolian mind, they want the fastest horse to win. And if children are riding, the horses will run faster. So only kids take part. It's very amusing to watch, as you can imagine. I have a short video here that I just want to play you. I feel like I haven't really done justice to this country, but anything I've sort of missed here, hopefully you can get a feel from this short video. So I'll just play this now. Thank you. So I've just had another question come through. Not sure if the video is playing. Apologies if the connection was bad. It sounded fine from here. Maybe it's not translating through the Zoom call. Apologies from that. Yeah, so from Carol, some momos. Yes, indeed. So the food in Mongolia. So traditionally, I wasn't exaggerating when I said that the Mongolian nomadic diet really was based on meat and milk. They would make dairy products from that, as I said, like cheese. They even can distill from mare's milk Mongolian vodka, which isn't vodka like as we know it. It's more like a Japanese sake. It's delicious, by the way. Now, we will take vegetarians on our trips. We bring a cook with us because we don't want to go to these local communities and say, you know, put the pressure on for them to cook for 12 tourists or how many people we have in a group. But still, you know, a lot of people, as I said, agriculture just isn't really an option given the extreme climate throughout the year. So all of the different meats they have, but they do make delicious momos, as you could see. They will make noodles and meat dishes of that respect. But yeah, it's still, and I'm actually amazed at how healthy the Mongolians are considering the lack of greenery in their diet. I can only imagine, because their animals are so healthy and that they get the nutrients through the milk and the meat. Now, obviously, things are imported and from the capital spread out to the local nomadic people, but still. But yeah, it's amazing how much that traditional diet has remained. Please speak to shower facilities as well. So for the trips we do, as I said, you'll be staying in the local gers. It's quite basic. You know, for the Eagle Festival, everything starts in Ulaanbaatar, and we stay in a nice hotel with all of the facilities, obviously. For the Eagle Festival, you fly to Ulgi, we stay in a hotel, and then you'll stay in a ger in Altai National Park for a couple of nights. Then we'll go to Sagsai and stay in a ger for a few nights there. So really, you know, it's possible to find an outdoor shower. Loos, obviously, they have proper toilets, but the washing facilities are quite limited. Similar to the nomad horse riding adventure, we really are going out and staying with the local people and living as they do. Obviously, you know, we provide washing areas, and you can give yourself a quick rub down, which is always recommended. But, you know, I think for a week to get out and actually get into nature, and really when you're riding a horse every day, or when you're staying in the gers and living with the local people, it's not front and center. And I think a lot of people actually just really don't mind getting back to the basics of life for a while. Question, do you recommend getting a solar charger for the phone? Yeah, I think if you're doing the Nomad horse riding adventure or the Nadam festival, we don't actually do the main one, which is in Ulaanbaatar, because Ulaanbaatar is a big, badly planned city. Traffic's awful. They have 2 coal-powered power stations in the city, and the winter it actually suffers terrible pollution. So the Nadam festival is in a stadium and there's thousands of people. That's not our style. So we actually go up to Lake Kodskol, which is a beautiful freshwater lake. It's one of the main sources of drinking water in the whole country. And we experienced the Nadam festival up in that lake and in a community there before traveling around the country a little bit. So again, we do stay in a few hotels where you could charge your phone. You'll probably get away with a power bank, but a solar charger, you can pick them up online for $50. They're super handy to have. So I would recommend having one of those. I think I've got one more question here. No, I think that was all of them. Did anyone want to unmute themselves and ask a question? I wanted to keep this to 30 minutes because obviously I'll be showing the recording. Or type in another question here. No, well, we can leave it at that then. You've all got my email. Please do message me or call me if you'd like any further information. We've got all 3 trips running this year. The Nadam Festival in July. We're doing the Nomad horse riding adventure, which I'm actually going on again, just because I love it so much, in August, and then the Eagle Festival in September. We can do bespoke trips as well. Mongolia is a very, very special place. It's hard to describe that feeling of really being back to nature, and you can feel it in the people that you meet there. They have a simpler but happier life because they're so much more in touch with nature. A quick question I've seen there, do we have a FAM itinerary in the future? That's a familiarization trip for people in the travel industry. We can organize that for you if that's of interest. But again, any questions, please do get in contact with me directly. Happy to set up a phone call and so on. So without further ado, thank you so much for your time. We would love to welcome you on one of our trips with us. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.